Hi and welcome back to the channel. Welcome also to our new subscribers.
Yes.
Good to have you on board.
Yeah, fantastic.
This week we are going to be talking about how we changed our lives, how you can change your life basically. And we're going to talk also about the fact that you don't need to be rich to do that. Okay?
Shock horror.
Absolutely. This week, before we do that, this week, what have you been up to? Anything exciting for you, my love?
Been very busy this week doing house viewings for D7 visas this week.
Yeah.
I had a couple of coaching calls with meeting some lovely clients on our coaching calls. It's really enjoyable which we now do coaching calls. I should explain that. And we've met some lovely people. So
that's awesome.
yeah, so that's really good. And it was someone's birthday, wasn't it?
It was indeed, yes. It was my birthday, 29. No, it was my birthday, and I treated myself, didn't I? I went
You
off.
did. You had some man time.
I had some man time. I went off to Spain to do some photography in the Tejo National Park and the Montfrag National Park there. Got some lovely photos of vultures mainly.
Yeah.
But yeah, lovely.
Pictures.
Had a great time, but it's back to the grindstone now, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah,
I'm no longer holding the fort.
No. So okay, let's talk about. Let's move into it and let's talk about how we changed our life.
So many people think you have to be rich to leave the rat race. And that was certainly my misconception for a long, long time. And these things, I think, keep us in fear. But you actually don't need to be rich to escape the rat race. We're living proof of that, aren't we?
We are indeed. We didn't win the lottery. We didn't receive a massive inheritance. We didn't sell a business. We didn't
sell our soul.
Didn't sell our soul. Well, you speak for yourself. Maybe I did. But we basically we made a decision, didn't we? And then we took action on that, and we basically took a calculated risk.
Yeah. So in this video, we're going to talk to you about how we left that 9-to-5 existence, how we made the decision to move to Portugal, what we did with our finances, and what the challenges were. And I do need to say at this point, we have a disclaimer, and that is, this is what we decided to do. It does not work for everyone. Okay, we are not financial advisors. We don't give financial advice. We are just talking through how we did what we did. Okay, so that's an important distinction to make at the beginning. But if you're in a similar situation to us, it might work for you. That's your decision to make. So like a lot of people, we were stuck in that 9-to-5 kind of treadmill, working long hours, hoping that, we might grab one day a week where we go and have some fun in the 2 days off that you get at the weekend, barely seeing each other because quite often we were ships that passed in the night because Gary was often out much earlier than me. And, you start dreaming about, gosh, someday could we retire? Could we start, can we start living when we retire? And how far away is that?
And it's funny, isn't it? Because you do worry about, well, what if you don't make retirement?
Yeah, and we've had a little brush with that as well.
Absolutely. I'm living proof that could have happened, that you saved all this time and you're waiting for that moment of retirement, and then all of a sudden it's bang, you don't make it. So what have you saved it all for? So I think the point is even at our age now, or what we were at the time, is to think about the future and we're going to have all this fun when we retire. That still seemed like a very long way away, and that's when we were in our early 50s as well.
And you're bloody exhausted. Us Gen Xers, we are exhausted. We've worked all our lives. We've worked from young ages. We were conditioned to work. We're bloody tired.
Yeah, and you do. You just wonder how you're going to carry on for another 10, 15 years.
I mean, it just felt...
on the old treadmill and going round and round. You just wonder how you're going to do it, and it's a hard thing. So you've got to, at some point, you've got to take action, haven't you? Yeah.
And those golden handcuffs were well and truly on my wrists when I talk about my corporate job. I had a 6-figure salary. But I was in a completely toxic work environment, and I'm sure many people can relate to this. So part of you kind of feels like, well, I should be really lucky. And please, I don't want to sound ungrateful. I was incredibly lucky, but I worked incredibly hard to get to where I was. And part of you feels like I should be really lucky, but then part of me is like, well, if I'm so lucky, why am I so miserable?
Yeah, I'm going to be honest here. You had the big salary. I mean, obviously I was contributing to that. Mine wasn't quite as big as yours. But you had the big salary. But we didn't feel like you had a big salary.
No.
Because I think everything that you're earning, it just goes towards supporting the infrastructure for living, and so you never feel well off of it. And this seems really quite privileged, but you do, because you're in this kind of stress mode, and you're constantly focusing on the work. Then a lot of what the money that you get coming in goes to support that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I think we got to a point where it's like, okay, we're earning all this money, but what the heck are we doing?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
We're not living. We're just existing. And this is a cliche. We know a lot of you have heard this, but we reached that point and we said, right, we need to do something about this. We need to start. And that was back in 2019, wasn't it? We need to make a plan. And how would we do it differently? That was really the key thing. How are we going to change our lives and do things differently? And
so we had that total discussion. Like, for the first time ever, we kind of had that discussion. We sat down, we discussed, what do we want out of life? Let's start there. What is it we actually want? And we kind of came to a lot of conclusions through that discussion. We both wanted to live somewhere else. We both wanted to be out of the UK. We both wanted to experience life in a different country. And so it was thinking about, well, how do we do that? We knew we wanted to work for ourselves. We wanted to try and use our own talents and make money for ourselves, for ourselves rather than for...
Working for the man.
Working for the man.
Yeah.
So we knew we wanted to experience a completely different life.
So once you make that decision that you're going to do it, you're going to change your life, I think the next thing is, how are we actually going to do it?
The big how.
Yeah.
So I love spreadsheets. I got my spreadsheet out, had a look at our costs for probably the first time where I actually sat down
Scary stuff.
Looked at what we were spending, and two things were really crystal clear to me. The first one was we needed to get out of debt. We were normal people. I don't think we're abnormal. No. We had normal debt. You know, you have a car payment, you have a loan, you've done some work to the house, you've got a loan for it, etc., etc. So we needed to get out of debt. And if we were going to change our life and work for ourselves and all of that sort of stuff, we needed to lower our living costs, because our living costs were just through the roof. So we were basically, I had a look at this, and how I analogize it is we were caught in the money trap. And I think when we got that spreadsheet out and we looked at it, it was really clear how we were being trapped in the world that we were in. So this is what I describe as the money trap, where your life costs too much to leave because you have a big mortgage, because your job needs a nice house near the office. You have an expensive car and a commute to get you to that job every day. You have childcare costs because you're not home during the day, or for us, dog care costs. You have stress spending, which is takeaways, wines, holidays, all the things that you buy just to cope. Then you have debt repayments to pay for the stuff that you bought to feel better about working. And of course, you have lifestyle costs, which are phones, clothes, upgrades, you know, a new phone here, this there, to keep up your appearances. So you stay in this job, and you stay in it because you are caught. And then you look at your total salary, which, if we take this example, is £5,000. And then you look at your total spend every month, which here is £4,600. Then actually you have left £400 to save, or to try and get out of that life. And actually, then guess what? An emergency happens. You've got to fix your boiler. Your car needs some emergency work. And suddenly your spend is now £5,050, meaning instead of saving any money, you're left with minus £50.
Okay, so just to reiterate, we created a 3-year plan, and the things that were on that list of the things that we needed to do were, we had to get debt free, as Shelley mentioned. We had to lower our living costs as much as possible, which you also mentioned. We had that burning issue of deciding where we wanted to live, so we had to go through that process, which we'll talk about in another video, which I'll pop up here. We also had to sell our house and work out we were going to go into rented accommodation, so we had all that to sort out, bearing in mind that we were going to build a van as well, and we had to take that into account. So there were lots of different things.
A self-build camper van for those who are new subscribers.
And then we had to really think about what was going to be our strategy moving forward in terms of how we're going to support ourselves financially.
Yeah, absolutely. And we got to work straight away on that plan. And I have to say, I was terrified, because I've always been risk adverse. Like, I was the person who never took a career break. You know, like a lot of people, they go off at 18, they go around the world, they finish university, they go travel, then they might do a bit of work for a while, and then they go off and do. No. Gen X, we just kept working. We were terrified to lose our jobs, terrified to leave our jobs, might lose where you were in your career and all of this stuff. So I was very risk adverse. You're a little bit more liberal than me.
Yeah, and I think probably the biggest reason why is almost 20 years before this started. I was made redundant for the 3rd time, I think it was.
Was it 3 times?
So it was the 3rd time I was made redundant, and I decided at that point I would change my life at that point. So I'd already gone through that whole taking the risk thing, and obviously I was a little bit disillusioned already with when you're working for other people, and really whether they care about whether you can pay your bills or not is irrelevant.
Which they clearly don't, and they don't, when they lay you off.
And so I wouldn't say that I was less risk averse. It's just that I'd already dipped my toe in the pond quite significantly, and I think that made it a lot easier for me. So I was ready. I was ready before you, for sure. Yeah,
it is, and it helped me because I always have that expression in my head: feel the fear and do it anyway. And taking that step, it's quite fearful. So on to the how. So one of the things we knew we had was we had a resource basically that could help us move, and that was that we had our pensions in what is called in the UK self-invested pension plans. So we knew we had a resource. In the US, I think they call that the 401k.
I think so, yeah.
And we knew we could access that pension plan at 55. So we had a resource we could use. And I guess what we are doing or did goes against sort of traditional financial advice. Instead of waiting until 65 to tap into that pension pot, which is the sort of traditional model, we decided to use it now, in our 50s to build a new life. So let's call it, and I've got another analogy for this, a life first spending plan. And what do I mean by that? Let me show you. So this is what I'm going to call life first spending plan in relation to our pension pot. And first of all, what we've done with this is we've ignored the 4% rule, which basically means that in the early years of our withdrawal from our pension, we're actually going to withdraw more with a view to gradually drawing out less and less. And so that goes down as our other income streams go up. We're not intending to preserve that pot intact. We intend to actually spend some of that. And actually there is a big school of thought in the financial world that you actually do spend less money as you age. So what you spend at 65 does not match what you spend at 75 and 85 as we naturally slow down.
So the standard model says save.
Save some more.
And save some more. And then live on your 4% interest on those savings per year. Without touching any of the original capital.
Yeah.
That's the general idea.
Yeah.
But we ask, what if you could use a bit more of it now while you're young enough to enjoy it?
Yeah.
And then you can you've got the opportunity to slowly build some other income streams to start supporting your life, as your changed life as you move forward.
Yeah.
So that's a great idea, but there's a lot of fear mongering that you get in the press. The kind of the barriers to you doing this sort of thing and what you think is taking the risk. That fear mongering is really
every day.
You can't, and you do. You open up. I look at Apple News, and when I open it up, it is everything is fear, and a lot of it's financial based fear as well.
Yeah.
And what we're saying about that, it's do you have X million in the bank account? Do you have X million in your pension pot? And if you don't, then are you going to have enough to retire, to survive, etc., etc.? And I think when you're bombarded with it, it's quite...
It's intimidating.
Intimidating, unnerving. There's a whole host of things.
Yeah.
And I just don't really understand this point of you build up this massive money.
Yeah.
And so that when you die, you're leaving a massive amount of money behind.
Yeah,
because this is
someone else that you've worked for.
And it's not just about providing for your children. It's like, we've got property and land and stuff like that. That's going to be left. But this big pot of cash, it's like, no, you need to use it effectively and efficiently.
Yeah.
That was our thinking.
Yeah, absolutely. So that move of using that pot now along, and this is the key thing, with lowering our expenditure, so hence we moved to Portugal, that meant we reduced our housing and our living costs dramatically, which meant we could start to live our dreams now. We were no longer stuck in that money trap.
So you set those plans in motion, and of course, reality kicks in. There are challenges. There are always challenges along the way. Things cost more than you expect to. Things leap out at you from the woodwork that you really weren't expecting to happen. And it doesn't matter how well you budget or plan. There are always going to be a few surprises, and we've had a few.
Yeah, we've had more than a few actually. Moving to Portugal with that process. The other thing that's a real challenge is you have to not only work on your finances and, lowering your costs, you have to work on your mindset, because you have to believe that you can create new income streams. And guess what happens if you don't really truly believe that you can do that? Guess what happens? It doesn't happen. So changing your mindset is a big thing about belief, about confidence in your own ability, what skills you have, because now you're on your own. You know, you're kind of putting your money where your mouth is. You wanted to go and build a new life, you wanted to work for yourself, and now you've got to do it. So mindset's everything.
It is, and it's quite funny because we often see on Facebook in particular, not mentioning any names, but you see a lot of people on there. I'm talking about estrangeros, people coming in, expats, estrangeros, and they say you cannot make money in Portugal.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think when we first saw that, we're like, really? And we can understand it. And it's interesting because we could probably quote many people that we know personally now.
Yeah.
Who have been for a long time and continue to, and are now, you know, reinventing themselves constantly. They're making money here and they're doing it in all sorts of different ways.
And in fact, we will do a video on this.
We will,
quite soon.
A separate one, yeah.
We're going to do a separate video on how people make money in Portugal, because people think you can't do it. And actually, it doesn't even matter if it's Portugal, anywhere in the world,
you can do it.
You can make money. So yeah, that's really important. So we're working on building our income streams at the moment to support our life here. I'm laughing as I say this because we have a business selling on Amazon in the US, and President Trump is most definitely put a big size 8 foot into that as of this week with these tariff announcements. So there you go, that's all part of the challenges. But we have an Amazon US business, we have a relocation business here in Portugal, which we are building and is growing, and we've got several other income streams which we're growing as well. But, and this is a big but, I like big butts and I cannot lie.
Sorry, we're just making sure you're still watching.
Sorry, we're so childish. We couldn't resist doing that.
A lot.
We love that song. But anyway, the big but is when we talk about changing your life is that you really have to change your life. Otherwise, it doesn't work. And what I mean by that is the money trap. And again, this is around mindset. So, for example, for us to change our life, we needed to lower our costs, that money trap that we talked about. But because our life is about the quality of our life, it's not about the trappings of success. So the big car, the big house, the lavish spending, we had to do a mindset shift. And I can tell you now, for me, that's probably been the biggest challenge. Because I had to tell myself, I don't have to keep up with anyone anymore. I don't need to keep up with neighbours. I don't need to have a big house. I don't need to have a fancy car. In fact, before I left my job, I was driving around, and I'm still driving my hoopty, my 11-year-old car I've had for 11 years. The actual car's older than 11 years. I'm still driving it. And I'm still driving it because it doesn't cost me any money. I don't have a loan on it, etc., etc. So that's a big mind shift change. But like in Portugal, like anywhere else in the world, you get people that say, come and see my big house. Oh, look at this fantastic holiday we've just been on. Oh, look at this big car that I've just bought. And you've got to stop yourself going, oh, because, you know, it isn't important anymore. What's important to us is quality, not stuff.
Yeah. And I think in order to live, we wanted to live a modest lifestyle, didn't we?
Yeah.
I think that's the one, as you say, where it's quality over quantity.
Yeah.
And I think Portugal, that's probably one of the reasons why Portugal appealed to us. And the reason that it kind of fits is Portugal is, in some respects, I'm not going to say it's behind everywhere else, but what I'm going to say is that it's maintained some of its traditional values in terms of what is important.
Innocence around spending.
Innocence, the spending. I mean, don't get me wrong, they've got big shopping centres and people are out there doing their thing. Yeah. But what you will find on these national holidays, even on the weekends, is the places, the parks, the people are going out with their families, they're filling them. They have parc de merendas here, which are picnic areas. They're everywhere. And on a nice hot sunny day on a weekend, many of them are filled up with people doing barbecues by the roadside. So there are many things that are more important than all of those trappings of luxury life, if you like. And so Portugal kind of added into that quality rather than quantity.
It suited it, for sure. So let's be really clear. We're not reckless, okay? We're not being reckless with our money. What we're doing is we are using our resources wisely now and taking out some money now whilst we build other income resources, because we know that later on down the line we will get our state pensions and our other pensions. So we've got a sort of small gap that we need to fill.
And the reward, well, it's time, it's freedom, peace of mind, quality of life. To be honest,
challenges.
Yeah, challenges. But most mornings now, we wake up excited about the day ahead, and isn't that the point, really? Isn't it?
We hadn't felt like that for a long time.
No, but that's what it's about, really.
So we really did it. We made a plan. We executed the plan, we left the UK and we moved to Portugal. And we live very simply now, but I would say beautifully, at the risk of everyone wanting to throw up at that point. But we live a very simple and beautiful life. We travel in our van. We run a small business or several small businesses that we really enjoy, and we focus on generating income on our terms.
Yeah, and we didn't need to be rich, which is the point of this video in many respects. We needed to be brave, we needed to feel that fear, and we needed to do it anyway. Cliche. But we did. I think the most important point is we just needed to be a little bit creative.
Yeah, for sure. So if you're watching this thinking, I wish I could do that, trust me, I was you not that long ago watching YouTube videos thinking, I wish I could do that. Yeah. So look, let's be clear, you can do it. You just need a plan and you just need to get creative. And what you don't need is any permission.
No. And I think to summarise this, if we can do it, then so can you.
So that is it for this week. And if this video resonated with you, which we really hope it has, let us know. We'd love to hear, have you thought about doing this? Are you in the process of doing it? Please drop us a line. We answer every single comment.
And we have got loads more coming up about life in Portugal, about building income streams.
Yeah, good, bad and ugly.
Yeah, living outside the system.
President Trump.
Hopefully not too many on President Trump.
No.
But so do stay tuned so that, like and subscribe particularly, because there's lots more to come. But that's it for this week. We do hope you've enjoyed it.
Thank you very much for watching.
And thank you for watching indeed. So ta-ra for now.
That's just ridiculous. Sorry. 3, 2. Sorry. Fruition.
Fruition.
No. 3, 2, 1.